Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline Live in the studio. We thought we were doing a show without Smoking Jim Frazier, and he said, hold that camera. Well, the camera's on. They're lining stuff up. Smoking Jim's in the house, ready for a great night of sports. Thanks for watching us on Comcast 7, only in Bethel Park. Verizon 32 everywhere, including Bethel Park, all the way Nemacolin to Cranberry, Wexford. I was in Walmart yesterday, and a lady goes, hey, Talking Machine, we watch you all the time, even if you're on at 2 in the morning. Wow. I go, oh, thanks. And they watch us on 7, so thanks, Maxine. Appreciate it. I think your husband's a bigger fan, but you knew my name, so appreciate that. Ran into a couple more people watching us on Verizon 32. Say they enjoy the show, and they always go, who was that black man on the show? And he's always the one that says the running back's a white running back. So I guess somehow it balances out. I go, that's Smoking Jim Frazier. So a couple fans said hello to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank them. And we start our show with what's on your mind. We're going to do that up front and get this show on the road. Smoking Jim, you situated?
Yes, sir.
All right, you ready for? You got to make sure you get some pizza.
I sure will. Can't wait.
And hoagie. All right, what's on your mind? Smoking Jim Frazier.
Thanks, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. And if you want the green,
coming at you.
You got to see Levine. Hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. Hope you all got enough sweet potato pie and chitlins. Hey, listen,
I didn't get a lot of chitlins.
You didn't get your chitlins this year?
I didn't go back for seconds.
You didn't? Well,
I had plenty of sweet potato.
I had some turkey too, but hey, what's on my mind is I got a couple little bonus things I want to throw out.
Throw the bonuses out. Come on, man.
In honor of Chip Hayner. The Kareem Abdul-Jabbar sky hook was considered to be unblockable. Mm-hmm. But on record, it was blocked twice.
No way.
You know, Wilt Chamberlain in the professional NBA blocked the sky hook.
Not Kareem's. He blocked Lou Alcindor's.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he blocked Lou Alcindor's sky hook. And
Chip got you on a technicality.
And Lou Alcindor, when he was at UCLA, I'll just say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Most people know him as that. UCLA was playing Illinois. And Illinois had a 6'1" guard forward that blocked the sky hook. And his name is Preston Pearson. Went on to have a great NFL career.
Running back.
That's a little bonus trivia.
Yeah, bonus trivia. There you go.
That's all fact. The Pittsburgh Sportsline Team of the Week this week, honorable mention, has to go out to Clairton High School 26-6 WPIL victory. I believe it's their 13th over Jeanette. And the Pittsburgh Sportsline Team of the Week, 49-14, Steel Valley over Neshannock.
Wow.
And
you like that, Steel Valley. And who's that running back?
Yeah, good question. And the Pittsburgh Sportsline Player of the Week, Steel Valley's running back Dwayne Murray, on time machine. Dwayne Murray with 16 carries, 213 yards, 5 touchdowns. He rushed for over 6,000 yards in his career as an avid weightlifter, in Steel Valley has a great chance of moving on and winning the state championship this year.
Do you not think that Lamont Wade is worthy of an honorable mention? Lamont Wade, 2 weeks after knee surgery, he scored a touchdown rushing. He scored a touchdown intercepting a pass. I think he may have even sold popcorn at halftime.
Yeah.
He had a pretty good game.
No award
himself.
for the popcorn.
Yeah. But he's from Clairton, so of course he gets scratched off the list. Another reason. That's Jim's second favorite city.
Wait, didn't a friend of our show, Paris Ford, have a good game too?
Yeah, Paris Ford had a pretty good game.
For who?
For the team that
Steel Valley
calls themselves the Ironmen. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Smoking Jim. This isn't your fiction and fact part. It's just your team part,
Yes,
I
sir.
guess, and player part
Yes,
now.
sir.
One more thing. What happened to the 4 colleges that are the top 4 in the area?
Oh, my fault about that. We got to do the college roundup. Congratulations to Pitt, Penn State, KU in West Virginia, all top 25 teams. Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine.
Well, I look forward and I listen to this stuff. You leave me on the edge of my seat.
Look, Chip threw me off at the Lou Alcindor.
See that?
Almost forgot who that was.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just glad you had a little bit of notes there.
Will plugged and it wasn't Kareem, you know?
I'm glad your notes pulled out.
Kareem Skyhook was never blocked. You're
There
right.
you go.
All
There
I
you
wouldn't
go.
let it happen.
That's right.
That 6'1" guy from Illinois, or was it Indiana?
Preston Pearson.
Yeah, he probably needed a stepladder.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. It's probably a small gym he
You
jumped
remember
off.
Preston Pearson for the Steelers and Dallas Cowboys?
Yes, he
Yeah.
he was a Steeler and then he became a Cowboy.
had big hands like that.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
And we'll move on. Chip Hayner, what's on your mind?
Oh, thank you,
Before
Alan.
Smoking Jim comes back with one.
Well, what's on my mind? Quite an amazing weekend in football that we had this past week. We've had 3 games played on Thanksgiving. I think 2 sufficient, but the third one happened to be the Steelers, and they pulled out a much-needed road victory against a pretty bad team. And so finally, that we can say that in 2 consecutive weeks that the Steelers have beaten 2 teams that they were supposed to beat. So I tip my
Good.
hat to Mike Tomlin and
And now we got 2 wins in a row.
Todd Haley and Keith Butler, because they've done something right. But the Giants are coming to town this weekend, and stay tuned for that. But, not only did we have, the Thanksgiving football, we had, the wrap-up of the regular season of college football. Unfortunately, in the game, Ohio State, thanks to the best referees money can buy, sent Mr. Harbaugh home crying. And just to add insult to injury, the NCAA decided to slap him with a $10,000 fine. But when you're making $9 million a year, you'll take a $10,000 fine for criticizing the referees after the game. And he's teaching that good set of core values to his players about, being a gracious winner, and and when you lose, you nod your head to your opponent. You're a better man than me today. Not in the Harbaugh house. But it was kind of satisfying to watch his face all twisted up on all the highlights. But also got to watch crybaby Cam get smacked around again by the Raiders. The NFL
And
things
beat.
are starting.
And they got beat.
Well, two quarterbacks that were supposedly good starting NFL quarterbacks are proving not to be so much this year. One would be Cam Newton. The other one would be the redhead in Cincinnati, Andy Dalton. No, it's just because he lost a couple of star players doesn't mean that he can't carry the team. But he kept losing. They kept on putting Piggy on the ground. So the
That hurts.
Cincinnati Bengals, for all rights and purposes, I would say are out of the playoff hunt this year. I guess they're playing now for a draft pick, so maybe they can take a page out of the Cleveland Browns book and lose a few more games. But what's really on my mind is December 1st marks a day when the next stoppage in Major League Baseball could possibly happen. Right now, the collective bargaining agreement in Major League Baseball expires on December 1st, and they are doing some last-minute negotiations, and they are optimistic that they will come to an agreement, but if they do not, it would not be beyond the owners to lock out the players, which would basically, for all rights and concerns, send free agency to a screeching halt. There would be no trades.
Sure.
There would be no free agent
Stop
signings.
everything.
So, here's the thing. It's been 22 years since Major League Baseball had a play stoppage. And, the only fortunate thing for the owner side of the equation is the person that negotiated the last collective bargaining agreement is now the commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred. And there are some issues. A lot of the issues have to do with compensation for free agent signings, raising the luxury tax because baseball does not have a salary cap like the other major sports, where the other major, the other teams in major sports have a level playing field. Everybody has to spend the same amount of money. Well, baseball doesn't like a level playing field, so they're going to up the. They're attempting to up the luxury tax total to $200 million, up from the 189. Some teams don't seem to mind paying the tax, but after each incident, when you get taxed, it goes up in percentage the amount of money that you have to pay. First-time offender, 10%, then 30%, and so on. So there are some issues to be resolved as well as the time of the game, the number of visits a manager can make to the mound, because what happens in the month of September is the game comes to a screeching halt as the manager can make unlimited trips to the mound, can make unlimited pitcher changes now that he's beefed his roster up to 40 men. Now, another one of the things that they're negotiating right now is increasing the 25-man active roster to a 26-man active roster. Whether or not one more player on your bench can make a difference, we shall see. But something needs to happen. It needs to happen soon, because 22 years without a play stoppage, baseball's at its apex right now. Attendance is the highest it's ever been. The revenue is as high as it's ever been. Television ratings are as high as they've ever been. And, Major League Baseball is a $10 billion a year industry. They need to find a way to find some common ground and not halt the season or the off season for that matter. But I'm concerned, and I'm watching attentively to find out if they do sign the deal at the last minute. So that's what's on my mind this week.
Thanks, Chip. Appreciate it. First, a shout out to Olive Oil's Pizzeria. Their pizza, Smoking Jim just downed a hoagie and a cut of pizza. So he's getting filled up. 412-831-1900.
And after he did that, he took a breath.
We'll delay him some more so he can get that next pizza down. Just ask for Sarah. She'll be on the phone. And go there at Hillcrest and pick up your pizza. While I'm in Hillcrest, a lady comes in. You're the guy on TV.
Wow.
She goes, you did the bike run with the Joey Fabus people. I said, yeah, thanks for remembering. So got that out there. Next, the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation. We end the show with that, with Stay Joey Strong. This is Joey before and after DIPG, the brain cancer that took his life before he was 9 years old. It's just a sad thing. If you can donate time or money to it, go online, Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation. Check it out. Then with teams and organizations in Bethel Park, the Bethel Park Community Foundation, they have from $100 to $5,000 for your group. Just apply, go online, bpcf.org, grab an app, put an application in. They'll be doing some things at the South Park shops with Santa's going to be there, and they're having some rides there, so check that out on Friday nights. That'll be the Bethel Park Community Foundation on Friday nights. Then we had a couple wrestlers on the show. They got a show this weekend at Century 3, so check it out. Phil Fleck, and we had Gino Slice, one of the wrestlers, and Gino's up here, and Phil Fleck used to live in Bethel. Right now he doesn't. His parents do. So if you're watching the show, you can see us now and see what we do. There's your poster there. And it's only $15 for adults, $10 for kids. Check it out at Century 3. They put on a nice show. What's on my mind is this whole year with Pitt. Their offense has been doing this, doing that. They've had bad games. The defense looked like the Steeler defense for whatever reason. Then they have this game, 76-61. It looked like a video game. I'm watching that in the Ohio State, and Harbaugh screaming and throwing his papers around, getting 15-yard penalties, just teaching kids how they should behave on his team. Not really, but that's what happened there. And the Pitt game was just intrigued me. You got James Conner come back from cancer, gained 1,000 yards, another 300 yards in passing. Awesome performance by him. I don't know what he'll do next year. I heard he might need a knee surgery again. That's what I heard through the rumor mill. So I wish him the best. Last time James Conner.
Another knee surgery.
Yeah, it could be. There's some rumors out in the street there. He might need a little bit of cleanup surgery or surgery there on a knee. So we'll see what happens. But what a year the young man come up with. How can you not put this Pitt team in a bowl somewhere, a big bowl, you know, because it's just the great publicity they have. Plus, they have an offense that could be the best in the country, the way they score points.
If I may interrupt.
Go ahead.
Pitt has actually made its first ever appearance in the college football playoff listings. They come in as the 25th ranked team in the college football playoff
Very
system.
apropos, right when I'm speaking. Perfect.
The top four as we sit today, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and Washington. And Alabama, Clemson, and Washington will be playing in conference championships this weekend.
Where's my Penn State at?
Penn State's at number 7. You have Big Ten teams 5, 6, and 7. You've got
Where's Michigan at?
Michigan's
5.
number 5. Wisconsin's number 6. And Penn State's number 7. So it'll be interesting to see how things fall this weekend. Sorry.
Thanks for announcing that with Pitt. They deserve the 25. Maybe they'll move up a little more.
Well, you know, just to speak to that, 76-61 game, I thought the Pitt basketball team was playing at Heinz Field.
Yeah, but there were no threes.
Yeah, I know.
There were only 2 threes, I think. They had.
What did I say in the show last week? That the best offense in the city of Pittsburgh practices in Southside, and it's not the Steelers.
You did quote that. And here's what bugs me. Since we're talking about we like offensive teams, 34,000 at the stadium watching a game. Wow. I mean, come on now. All these Pitt folks, tickets aren't that expensive. Guess what? That stadium's easy to get to.
I can't explain it that as the season went on, and Pitt had a very exciting team to watch this year. I don't think there was any game. There may have been one game where they scored less than 30 points.
Yeah.
But they certainly could score a lot of points, and they certainly don't know how to tackle anybody because if I can just imagine the players, and I didn't get to see the game. I was out of town this weekend, so I didn't get to see any of the highlights or watch the game. But was anybody's uniform dirty at the end of the game?
Oh, yeah.
76-61. I'm thinking nobody got tackled.
No, there was tackling like crazy.
But not the guy with the ball, right?
No. They actually caught a couple of them and stopped some drives. Pitt stopped a couple drives. They played some defense.
But I'll tell you what, Bart Narduzzi, a defensive specialist, a defensive coordinator.
I'm glad they hired him. Look what he's done.
He always had a top-rated defense when he was at Michigan State. And, he's going to have to quit being so stubborn, I would like to think. If your system isn't right for the people that you have, I understand you're going to recruit the kind of people that you want. But in the meantime, you need to adjust your system to complement the players that you have because
he doesn't do that.
61 points given up. You're not going to win a lot of football games doing that.
But they scored 76. For all the offensive people out there that love offense, how can you not like this team right here in Pittsburgh? They're lighting up the boards left and right.
Who's the best offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh? I'd say Matt Canada would probably earn that title, right?
Yeah, Canada's the man. Definitely.
And Pitt better do everything they can to try to hold on to him.
Well, they've had him for, 1 year, so we'll see what happens.
Well, you know what?
He's going to get offers.
He's got
after this.
everybody's notice. He's
Yeah.
got everybody's noticing him.
All right, let's go to our segments. Let's hear Smoking Jim Frazier's Fiction and Fact with Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine, and Chipper. You know what?
What?
There's a quarterback, I believe, that's played his last down of football.
Where?
And he's a living legend. His name is Bruce Gradkowski. And when Bruce played at Seton LaSalle High School, not only was he a record-breaking and record-setting quarterback, he's also a great basketball player.
Who'd you hear that from?
You, Al Levine, the talking machine. And he had 0 Division I offers in high school. And there's a coach that just retired from Woodland Hills by the name of George Novak, who carries a lot of weight. Novak
On his
played
body?
Everywhere. He played at Georgia Tech. George Novak coached
Legendary.
Charlie Batch in high school at Steel Valley, won a couple WPIL championships before moving on to Woodland Hills for 30 years. He called Toledo. And he told the coaching staff down there at Toledo that they better, give his kid a look.
I heard
and
somebody
give him a
else did too
scholarship.
back then.
Yeah, and that's how the story goes. But my fiction, in fact, and of course, I finally got in touch with the head coach of Stanford, Shaw, this morning. I told him
By time.
after I beat him up for a little bit, I told him he better give Zane the train a scholarship. But
Way to go.
For some reason, he doesn't think that the white guy can play Division I football running back. I think that's reverse discrimination.
You tell him that.
But we're still pushing. I'm not giving up hope. But he's going to take more look at the film. But fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac is Bruce Gradkowski. When Bruce went on to Toledo, Pitt didn't recruit him, of course. And Pitt never loses to, back then, mid-major teams didn't beat the big boys. And Pitt was 21-0 against mid-American Conference teams. Pitt was ranked number 9 in the country. Went down there with a guy named Larry Fitzgerald, who was up for the Heisman, and Rob Rutherford, who threw 37 touchdown passes that year. And Bruce Gradkowski behind his 461-yard passing.
I remember
3
Smoking Jim.
touchdowns, beat Pitt 35-31 for a little fiction and fact from Smoking Jim Almanac, and probably put the Mid-American Conference on the map, because since then they frequently beat the big boys now. So thanks to Bruce Gradkowski, what a great career, 11 years in the National Football League. He's moving on to bigger and better things. When I was in Toledo recently, I almost went to one of his restaurants. I seen the restaurant there in Toledo, but I wasn't sure how the water was in Toledo.
They don't drink water
I
there.
decided not to.
They don't
eat
drink
because
any
you got
water.
to use water.
They have
to prepare
wine.
food.
They have wine.
So if he ever gets a restaurant here in Pittsburgh, I will attend. But that's it. That's my fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac. I don't drink everybody's water, Chip.
And I don't consider that being prejudiced at all.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. I'll just finish my water right here. I'm finishing it now. Delicious. All right, let's go to Chip Hayner's trivia time.
Well, the thought of potentially a player's lockout by the major league owners, I decided to take a look into pro sports lockouts and strikes.
Wow.
Okay, so I just kept it to the 4 major sports. Okay, and we'll go with the first one, the National Football League. The National Football League has had, over its time, let me see, there have been 6 work stoppages in the NFL. Wow. The last one being from March 12th to July 25th of 2011, which now the players are regretting that they signed, and the only team that did not ratify the collective bargaining agreement on July 25th, 2011 was the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now they sold their souls to the devil so that Roger Goodell has unlimited powers, and now they've got to deal with that for another 5 years. So their greed was very short-sighted, and well, if they really had a qualified union protecting them and looking out for their best interests, such as the health and well-being of the players, those 3-day rests in between games certainly does speak volumes as to that.
I love it.
So the first lockout or strike started, believe it or not, probably this would have to have been before my friend Jim Frazier was born, July 3rd to July 15th, 1968.
Wow.
Okay.
Way before.
And as you go through the years of the various lockouts, it's generally the same thing. It's over revenue sharing, and players' ability to have free agents. The second one here we want to look at is the National Basketball Association. They have, if I can find it here, their first lockouts was in 1995. They have had
Whoa.
1, 2, 3,
They started late.
4, 5 or 6 work stoppages, but just to kind of touch, and they're always the same thing. The owners don't want to give the players any freedom of movement, and the owners don't want to give the players any of the money that they get. So
Leave our revenue alone.
leave our revenue alone. So the last time that the NBA players were locked out, the season was scheduled to begin December 25th, 2011. So far that they've kept business as usual for that long. Now the one major sports league, or if you call this one a major sports league, the National Hockey League. Now what they had to do to the National Hockey League is that the owners were willing to sacrifice an entire season. And they back in 2004 and 2005 was the first time that a North American professional sports league loses an entire season due to a labor dispute. There have been 4 work stoppages since 1992. The last one being last work stoppage ended January 9th, 2013. So, the last time they went down December 10th. September 15th, 2012, the NHL imposes a lockout at midnight. And by the owners locking out the players, they're locking out the players on their terms, not on the players' terms, so that the players were the ones that were the big losers. Because the owners have insurance policies that protect them.
No scabs come in?
Not in the NHL.
Okay.
Nobody
The
wanted to get hit in
NFL
the head with a
football
puck.
players did that, and that caused the players to cave and sign an agreement because football was being played, people were watching it, people were going to see it, the reporters were writing about it.
I did.
So,
Did you watch hockey before that?
No, I couldn't tell the scabs from the regular players in the NFL.
that's where what was his name? Bono. Steve Bono was a quarterback for the Steelers, wasn't he?
They're from Norristown High School.
Mm-hmm. So now that we get down to Major League Baseball, there have been 8 work stoppages in Major League Baseball. The first work stoppage was in April 1st, 1972. And it was a strike concerning player pensions and binding arbitration. It lasted 13 days, 86 games were missed. Then they struck again in February of 1973. Lockout concerning binding arbitration for salary disputes lasted 17 days, 0 games missed. The next labor interruption was in August of 1985. Strike concerning owner contributions to player pension fund and binding arbitration lasted 2 days, 0 games missed. The next lockout, February of 1990. Lockout concerning revenue sharing, salary arbitration. Then there was the strike of August the 12th, 1994. And what happened was the players went on strike. And out of spite, the owners canceled the playoffs in the World Series in 1994.
Wasn't the Indians one of the favorite teams?
Well, in the 1994 season, absolutely the two best teams in baseball were the Cleveland Indians and the Montreal Expos. And I do believe that would have been the year that the Indians did win it all.
Yes,
I
sir.
do believe that they had the best team in baseball that year. It's unfortunate for the city of Cleveland because they did take two teams to the World Series in the 90s, and they lost in 7 games to the Braves, and they also lost after being up 3-1. Almost like this year when they were against the Cubs, when they lost to the Miami Marlins, and that was Jim Leland's one and only World Series championship.
That's why they hired him.
So, so the owners, to show the players that, okay, you want to strike on us, we'll fix you. And that was a really sad day for baseball. And that actually, rung in the beginning of what is referred to as the steroid era. Even though steroids were being used prior to that, and somehow, some way, the owners just conveniently overlooked the use of performance-enhancing drugs because of the benefits that it brought.
Thank you.
The game as far as attendance and getting
Home runs.
getting people back into stadiums, because after the owners called off the playoffs in the World Series, people didn't want to go to see baseball games. The fans were upset with the players and the owners both for being greedy, and basically neither of them cared whatsoever about the fans, and the fans are the ones that make it
Pay for
possible
everything.
for them to get paid multi-million-dollar contracts. So, subsequently, beefed up players, massive home runs, and everything that went with that brought people back into the stadiums. And then once that monster started getting too big, Major League Baseball decided that it was time to start doing something about that, which they managed to do without any work stoppages. And I really do sincerely hope that the owners and the players union come to some kind of common ground here and don't
December
let these petty
2nd.
squabbles, because right now baseball has never been healthier. And anything that you would do to take away from that at this point, that would be shooting the goose that laid the golden egg, and I just personally can't see. But that's kind of
Trivia of
my
strikes and
trivia,
lockouts.
my trivia of this week. Hopefully Thursday we'll find out that the players and the owners have signed a new collective bargaining agreement, and then the rest of this offseason
Just move
can
forward.
begin. But
Thanks, Chip.
that's what we got this week.
Thank you. We were on location at Atria's PNC Park, had a great show. Johnny Brandy Mariano introduced me to Mr. Fleck that owns Code Red Wrestling. He was a great guest, told us about the sport. He also wrestles, had one of his wrestlers on. We had a great time with that. Mike D. Draculich, we had him back after a couple-year hiatus. Every sport I brought up, we talked about it. So it was nice to have Mike D back in business with us. We'll see him again sometime. And Mario Tempest has this new app called Fire Fan. People are playing it all the time, everywhere. It went live on Thanksgiving. So 1 million people started playing it already. So it looks like a big thing. It's a ground floor opportunities talking about. I know at least a half a dozen other people that are into that. So it's an interesting concept. You got celebrities that are playing this. You can go back and forth with superstars on each game. And there's things with stats and you name it. I'm not into those apps, but for those people that are, there's no charge for it. So play away. So we had great guests. We had Smokin' Jim in his usual entertainment mode with what's on your mind. So that was a good thing. And next week we'll be at Hollywood Lanes, 7:30 to 8:30. Come out, meet Jeffrey Park, Lindsay Marie with Hollywood Lanes. They always have a great time for us there. We have a great show. We've got people lined up. Wanted to announce that one of our guests is going to be the quarterback of Keystone Oaks, Alex Smith. And we have other guests coming on board. So come on out to see us at Hollywood Lanes. Thanks again for watching our shows, and
a great one.
Nice. Definitely. Yeah, we got a lot of great sports going on. Let's go to the Steelers here. We got 2 wins in a row. I don't know how it happened. They didn't give up a sack. We've won the games against poor Cleveland team, and the Colts didn't even have their lucky quarterback there. Luck was out of the game. So we got 2 wins there. We're playing the Giants. I'm excited. This could be a turning point in the season. We beat the Giants. I think we could run the table just with how it's set up. You got Buffalo after that, and just the way people are getting healthy, getting people back from injury. Big Ben seems to be playing. They said they've talked to Antonio Brown that he got to watch some of those celebrations because they can't afford a big penalty. He said it, and they've told him. So, I mean, what changed now that you're this deep into the season? You don't get it.
Well, you know, it's one of the problems that I have with Antonio Brown. I think he's one of the top receivers in the NFL, if not the. But you know, he's a very selfish, self-centered, you know, hooray, look at me kind of guy. And you know, what's going to happen one of these days is we're going to get down to a game that we must win, and he's going to do something foolish, and it's going to end up costing us a game. Now, he did cost us a 15-yard penalty that led to a touchdown. Fortunately for us, we scored on our first 3 possessions, and it became a moot point. But there's going to become a time when we're going to lose a game because of his foolishness, and he just needs to, you know.
Well, he did shut down his celebrations on his other 2.
Well,
so that was a good thing.
I mean,
so,
that looked like Le'Veon Bell that joined in. That had nothing to do with Brown.
Well, you know, and
it had everything. They were both doing it.
And here's the thing, you know,
they both were dancing.
Antonio Brown, I believe, is being unfairly targeted.
Yeah, he is.
By the referees in the NFL because, and Ben brought this up in his segment today. You know, if that game would have been played at 1 o'clock and wasn't the nationally televised game, probably nothing would have happened. But, you know, here it is, Sunday night. Everybody's watching that game. It's on national TV. You know, and I have seen
Thursday night it was
more enthusiastic celebrations in the end zone by other players that did not get flagged. And why, you know, I mean,
they got some stipulations that if one of your players and the guy that scores choreograph it, which Smoke and Jim, that's dancing together on the field and doing some nonsensical stuff, Le'Veon Bell and Antonio, they're going to throw a flag. So they're calling the referees out on that. They're putting them on the spot.
So in listening to Coach Tomlin today on his press conference, one of the very first times I've ever heard him talk positionally about the Steelers' woes this year. And he said one of the things that he doesn't want to go forward with is having a 5-man rotation for his outside linebackers. Right now, the outside linebacking core is led by James Harrison and Bud Dupree. And those were the only 2 that Mike Tomlin said sure had playing time locked up for this coming weekend. So that leaves Arthur Moats, Jarvis Jones, and Chiclo as the remaining 3 playing for 2 positions. And the only person that really didn't get mentioned was a certain too slow first-round bust. And I think we may have seen the end of Jarvis Jones' playing time, and, you know, barring an injury to somebody else. But, you know, do you realize that the last sack he had in the NFL was in Week 5 of the 2015 season?
No.
Wow,
you know, and, you know, I'm sorry, a first-round draft pick in his 4th year, that's never going to get it done. And, you know, and I think Mike Tomlin is at the point now where he realizes it was a huge mistake drafting him.
You're pumping up a guy by saying that who said it when we drafted him.
You know, for all
Smoking Jim Frazier.
For all the things I disagree with Jim about, and there's many, okay, but I respect his opinion, you know.
You're pumping him up. Look at this.
This is one that he got right from day one, and you know what? If he's not going to toot his own horn, let me just toot it for you, because you were spot on with that call. Now, Bud
he didn't care how great he was in the SEC. A lot of them are busts. I'm like, where?
You know?
When? When does that happen? He couldn't name one, but
And,
we got Jarvis Jones who filled that slot
We've got Jarvis
comfortably.
Jones, and
Yes, Smoking Jim.
he
I'm
has
a big
been a
fan
miserable
now.
failure. But now we've got the New York Giants coming into town. Now you've got a quality caliber quarterback. He's got 2 Super Bowls on his resume. He can beat you, and the Giants do have 3 good wide receivers with Victor Cruz, Odell Beckham Jr., and then the Sherrod guy. He's a rookie this year. He's already got 5 touchdowns this year. So, the Steelers secondary is going to get a workout. And, the Giants are capable of running a ball control offense. And their defensive line had 7 sacks last week. Steelers have gone 2 weeks without Ben getting knocked on his hind end. Will that continue this week? That's an interesting thing to think about.
Well, Giants are on a 6-game winning streak. Hitting vigorous as that
Bob
would be.
Prince.
The longer it lasts, the closer you get to the end of it.
I got money.
They're going to lose.
I got money on the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. They underwhelmed against Cleveland, and just kind of all they had to do was show up against Indianapolis. But Steelers are a team that play with a lot of emotion. I give credit where credit is due. Keith Butler, defensive coordinator, finally stepped outside the box a little bit and started putting in some zone blitz packages that's benefiting the team. When you got James Harrison as your outside linebacker, and then you put Timmons outside of Harrison, and the only thing that you have...
You got an outside linebacker.
The outside. The only thing you have between Timmons and the quarterback is a third down back that's scared to death to step up there and block Timmons. So some of the wrinkles that the Pittsburgh Steelers defense coordinators and defensive coaches have been doing is paying off a little bit. But just like Chip talked about Pitt, Steelers are not going to, stop you from scoring. But I just believe that they're in a position now to outscore you. Ladarius Green is a mismatch at 6'6". Heath Miller, Jesse James, who every time he catches the ball, they say Heath.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. He's 6'7". You got Le'Veon Bell's one of the best wide receivers in all of football. I just get tired of the Pittsburgh Steelers crying. I don't mind Harbaugh crying because I love Harbaugh.
That's a shock.
But when the Steelers do it, it upsets me because all I hear is we need a second receiver. One of these guys needs to step up. Well, you had a second receiver. Your second receiver was Emmanuel Sanders, that's playing very well in Denver, that played well here, that was still very, very young.
No, he didn't catch
in
the
his
ball
prime.
here.
and the Pittsburgh Steelers got rid of him.
He didn't catch the ball. He grew hands when he left.
He grew hands in Denver.
Yeah,
but
Denver, he found
but
hands.
But he was a third-round draft pick here. And but the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing it. I like Chip said, the offensive line is a little soft. They're going to give up some sacks this week against the Giants, but I believe that being at home, being that the crowd is back into it, and like El Levine, the talking machine, says 11-5 ain't out of the question. The only game I'm really worried about is Buffalo a little bit, but I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers can go 10-6, and I think it starts this weekend with the Giants.
The game that's got me concerned coming up, and I do I feel the same way you do, and I'm sure Alan feels the same way. I do feel that the Steelers are going to end the Giants' winning streak this weekend. But the game that's got me concerned more than any other game that we have the rest of the season is going to be Baltimore, because we're going to have to beat them to win the division. Mm-hmm. And Baltimore's got a nice defense. Their offense stinks this year. Mm-hmm. Joe Flacco, I'm not impressed with what he's delivering right now. Mm-hmm. But you look at the game Terrell Suggs had last weekend. Yeah, he was all over, a couple of sacks, couple of forced fumbles.
Look, they blocked 4 out of 6 passes. Towards the end of the game, 4 passes.
So he's still got a motor, and Ben knows what it's like to get hit by him, because I remember going to a game at Heinz Field a few years back, where the Steelers got crushed by the Ravens 35-3, and Ben got sacked 9 times. Wow. I believe that was the game he said the hardest hit he ever got was from Bart Scott, and when Bart Scott hit him, said he could feel the air going out of his lungs when he
Yeah.
hand.
Is that when he broke his toe? No,
I don't know.
No.
Different game.
No, but the Ravens
Nah.
game, because no matter what kind of
Nah,
a team that we have, the Ravens game is always coming down to a field goal. And if it comes down to a field goal in that game, the Ravens kicker is head and shoulders better than our kicker.
He's made every kick this year. He
he-
made 3 over 50
He made
yards.
3 over 50 yards.
He could have made a 4th one and Harbaugh changed his mind or something. Yeah, he's just,
So, you know,
he's unbelievable. And then he gave one of the worst interviews ever in history.
Did he?
Yeah, yeah.
So the Steelers, certainly I don't feel comfortable, saying that they'll go deep in the playoffs. I do believe they'll make the playoffs. I think, we're still capable of winning our division because, with games against, Cincinnati, Cleveland, but, we've got to get past that Baltimore team. And seems like Cincinnati, the wheels have fallen off that bus. And, it just goes to show you that really Vontaze Burfict, really isn't such a great player after all, because how many wins do they have because of him?
Well, he's a great player, but what do you think about?
He did a move Smoking Jim would like. He
Did he?
flopped.
Did he?
Yeah,
Did he get a
Steve
penalty?
He pushed
No.
Smith Sr. down.
He did it to him twice. He
Two
pushed
times.
Steve down, and as Smith was trying to get up, as he was just about up, he pushed on him again and knocked him back down. And Steve Smith Jr.
He got up and
head butted him in his chest, and he fell over like he got shot. And Steve Smith got
flopped.
a 15-yard,
Yeah.
15-yard penalty.
That's.
He pulled a
that's
page
negative.
out of your book there.
But what do you guys think about Texas firing Strom?
Well, here's the thing with the University of Texas. University of Texas expects to be one of the top 5 teams in the country, and if you are not winning, the championship of their league, and if you are not in the national title picture, you're not going to have a job very long there. I mean, the University of Texas has resources that are akin to what is available to the head coach at Alabama. And in other places. But unfortunate for Charlie that,
Well, isn't he in kind of like a similar situation a year ago with the Penn State coach, but they showed some patience and it paid off for Penn State.
True. But,
Well, he is 16 and 21.
The Texas Longhorns, they're in a win now mode. And here's the thing. Whomever the new coach is, and that new coach they hired was the head coach at Houston, who turned down.
That was his players. I'd beat the snot out of him.
But from what I understand,
They don't care.
the
I'd
new
have
head
beaten
coach
them.
of Texas,
He never would
the
have.
team
He'd
is
have been in the
stacked.
hospital.
The team is stacked.
Yeah, they just
So they're
recruited.
not gonna spend a couple of years rebuilding.
That's a lateral move when you say Houston and Texas.
No, it's a
Well,
step
it's
up.
a step up for the guy from Houston.
If I was his players,
Tom
I'd-
Herman. That's
If I was his
Herman.
players, I'd have heard him, man.
The players
that's-
moved.
That's like
And they got stuck
that's like
'cause-
that's like you moving from, to Pittsburgh to Baltimore, man. That's
Well,
like-
here's
You're
the,
wrong
you
on
know,
this.
here's the thing.
You don't have a clue.
Why is it that head
Step
coaches
up.
are allowed to go from team to team, but if a player wants to transfer, he's got to sit out for a year?
yeah.
What's up with that, Smokey?
Well, here's a prime example that Tyler Pelko, a friend of mine when he's not cussing on national TV, he was recruited by Walt Harris, who had a very sophisticated offense that fit Tyler Pelko. Tyler Pelko was one of the best quarterbacks in college football
Sure.
under, Walt Harris. Walt Harris gets fired. They bring in Wannstedt. His 2 years under Wannstedt is underwhelming. He don't fit that system.
Right.
So, people say people ought to pick the college. No, you pick the coaches that fit your system.
Well, it's obvious that's what
And
they
it hurt
do.
Tyler Pelko. I mean, he
No,
never got
and,
drafted or
Jimmy,
anything.
you make a great point. This is one of the reasons why I think, the college football head coaches, they're some of the sleaziest people around because they will look right straight in your eyes and look at Todd Graham's a perfect example.
He's one of Smoking Jim's heroes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
High
he is.
octane offense wasn't high octane
You know
here.
what? We
He
haven't-
ran
you know
out
what?
the door.
But you know what? We haven't heard much of him. He had a decent year last year, and he was conspicuous by his absence this year. So
And that happens. But that's a step up for
but
Herman.
that's a step up for him.
Texas is a
Yeah, Texas is supposed to be like one of the top college football jobs
upper
around.
echelon.
What do you think about what's going on with with Notre Dame? Do you think Brian Kelly ought to keep his job? I talked about
No.
this last week.
He should have been fired when the kid died on that storm.
Yeah.
I always forget about that, but you're right.
I bring that up because how could you tell somebody to stay up there on a thing that you wound up to get up there and it's precarious to begin with, and the kid died?
Yeah, you're right.
Who is the guy? Come on, man.
Yeah, it's a good point. I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, that's like putting you up there.
So Pitt with
What
no
happened
defense
there?
finally made the top 25. But you got to give credit to Pat Narduzzi. What's this, the 2 8-4 seasons back to back?
He's a defensive specialist. That's where I give him credit.
Potentially.
I'm glad they got a defensive specialist that freaks out on the sidelines.
I heard that there could be a possibility of a Pitt West Virginia bowl game matchup.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Well, I'd love to see that, because
There'd be 150 points scored in that game.
all three of our local major college football teams have played very well this year. And isn't it kind of nice to know that
we got 4 major local teams, don't we?
No, Cal U doesn't count.
They won the national
They don't count.
championship.
Yeah, that's
Don't
what, is that
overlook
2A or 3A?
That's only because of your stuff in the ballot
Steel
box.
Valley winning 2A and
They still
Claremont winning
pay
1A.
They're an intramural. They're like an intramural program in college.
Hey, you can make some money at Cal U, bro.
I don't know
But
about that.
here's kind of a comforting thought that Penn State probably will not get a chance to play in the college football playoff system.
There's no
fall
way.
because of their loss to Pitt.
Wow.
And and that just goes to show you that that game did mean something at the time. Penn State. Oh well, that doesn't matter because you look at that. The only other loss that Penn State has was they lost by 49 points to Michigan. But
Yeah, they got blown out.
well, they got blown out. But
That's before Terry Smith took over, the assistant head coach.
No, he was there. I saw him on the sideline. He was screaming at somebody. You can rewrite history anytime you want, Smoking Jim. I know what I've seen.
So hey,
we got some local guys who are considering a lot of schools. Do you think that now that West Virginia, Penn State, and Pitt are playing well, that some of the local guys who are considering other places?
If they get asked to come to school, they got to get recruited. You know that.
I think that Pitt, Penn State, and West Virginia, at this point, as opposed to in August, are much more attractive as destinations for young football players now, because they're all in the top 25. Penn State's in the top 10. I
think if you took a young recruit to a Pitt game with 34,000 fans down there, that'll seal the deal. Opposed to 100,000 at Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State.
And what do they need?
I agree with you, Smoking Jim. I'm on that
What do
bandwagon
they
to
need
nowhere.
to do to put more fannies in the seats at Heinz Field? Because the one thing that's for sure is never going to happen. They're never going to build another stadium in Oakland. That's not going to happen.
No, my thing is, you got offense that's insane. You got a stadium that's located right where the Steelers play. People make it for there. Same people are fans of both. Come on down. Cheaper ticket.
But and this is
Why
some
aren't
of the
you coming down
arguments- this is
supporting
some
a
of the
great team?
arguments- This is some of the arguments that people make, because a lot of college football is the stadiums are on campus, and the majority of the people that are at the game are the student body. And really, do people want to travel all the way from Oakland down to Northside? Now, I know it's not that far, but
The buses are free to the kids.
Yeah, but you walk up the, you used to be able to walk up Cardiac Hill and boom, you go see the football game. You don't have to get on a bus and go through downtown and all that other stuff.
It's 10 minutes away.
But as
Come on out. You want to see action? You want to see scoring? That's what people love.
Here's what will do it, and it's going to take some time to get people in those seats. They just need to keep winning. Winning will bring the people.
Yeah, because I think that you don't market to the kids. I would market to the adults and the alumni.
And their
They have a
families.
big enough base to.
Well, and you know what? And then the
They can
people
get 'em
that
out
you
for
gotta
Notre
point the
Dame.
finger at, the people that you got to point the
That's
finger
right.
at is the alumni, because they're not coming out and supporting their university.
This is what I'm getting at. That's part of it. they can get teams that come to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
When Notre Dame's playing, they pack the stadium.
Or Florida State. Or,
Florida State, they
something
loaded
like
up.
that.
Yeah, just crazy stuff like that. But you have the team there, and they're doing well, scoring.
So
what we like.
we've got 4 teams that are in the college football playoff system right now. There's Alabama, there's Ohio State, there's Clemson at number 3, and there's Washington at number 4. Now, provided that everybody wins the games that they're playing this weekend, that looks like your 4 teams in the championship. It'll be interesting to see what happens this week, if there's any upsets, and then the quality of the win may come into play, because if one of these teams just squeaks by somebody and somebody else has a very
The panel will have to decide.
like, say for example, if Penn State were to beat Wisconsin 75-0,
I'd like to see that.
would they leapfrog their way over into potentially being considered? There's a lot
Ahead of
what
Ohio
ifs.
State.
And Michigan. They'd have to leapfrog
But,
both of them.
well, enough with the football. If you don't mind, I'd like to throw in a little baseball talk for
I'm
just a
out.
second.
I'm out.
We got a couple minutes. Go ahead.
All right. So the Pittsburgh Pirates have made some moves. I know everybody's anxious. They want to see the Pirates make some moves. There's a lot of trade rumors going on. Andrew McCutchen's been discussed. And I probably, and I've said this at the end of last year, there's nobody that's safe on this team right now. A number of different players are being discussed as trade bait, and we'll see what happens. Obviously it's going to be what kind of a return do we get, and
Can we get some starting pitchers?
And Andrew McCutchen's being shopped around, and I say, if we can get a number 1 starter from somebody, or at the very least a number 2 starter, and like a very high-rated prospect, or a position player. There was an offer on the table from the Dodgers, I believe, for one of their starting pitchers, Jose De Leon, and another kid named Bellinger, who's a 21-year-old first baseman who they say has some stick in his bat, could possibly be a 30-home run year guy. And if that were to happen, McCutchen goes, that would move Josh Bell out to right field. It would move Marte into center, Polanco into left. And then you'd have this young kid playing first
Treating
base.
the black man bad. All that he did for this town.
Well,
Let
you
me
know
tell
what,
You
Jim?
hate him.
Jim,
You don't even recognize he was an MVP.
professional
You hate him.
sports is a business, buddy. But
He
also,
understands
Also, the Pirates have designated for assignment Jeff Locke, so I guess we won't have Jeff Locke to kick around anymore next year. So changes are being made. Once the collective bargaining agreements are agreed to, you'll start seeing some movement. Trades will happen. Free agents will be signed. Stay tuned.
Some winter talk's got to happen. We'll get there in January. Something will happen, no doubt. Well, Smoking Jim, any last words?
No.
Jim Maynard.
No, I'm looking forward to the conference championships this weekend.
All right, well, Steelers over the Giants. Go Pitt. Go Penn State. Go Cal U. Go WVU. Thanks, Devin Shea in the control room. Thanks to Dave Cable for letting us do this show each and every week. And thanks to all of you for watching our shows and enjoying it and giving us great feedback. I'm saying good night and stay Joey strong.